he died. He ran out of gas. When he died, I was expecting something horrific. One of the engines fell off and took the wing off. No, he ran out of jet fuel. How could this happen? And I said to myself, man, I wish I could fly like him. I've been flying for years. Years. I remember we were sitting on getting ready to take off, and this particular Lear jet, it was sitting there idling, and I asked him, how much money does it cost to just have this plane idling here? And he told me, and I said, it's crazy. And he looked at me and he said, that's because only millionaires or billionaires should really own this type of airplane. You got to be able to afford it. You have to be able to justify it. You're not just going to go to, let's say, Miami to have some Cuban coffee and then fly back. I was in a situation with him, and my wife was in the plane too. And this is up in Alaska, where we're flying. And these are special planes. They are hot rods to be able to do the stuff that plane can do and could take people places where other planes couldn't. Okay? And I look down, and here's this forest. I mean, try to find an open space. Guess what happened? I see this open place, it's a circle, and he goes, oh, there's our landing spot. That's where the best so-and-so and the best fishing, da-la-la-la, and I'm going, landing. See, I was used to I'm learning how to fly. I was used to the concept that you have to have a straight line to land. That makes sense to you? Have you ever seen an aircraft carrier that is a circle? An S? I've never gone to the airport and seen a landing strip that's like this. You know, you land here and you make a circle as you're landing. And no, it's always a straight line. He starts descending in a circle, like a coil. Because there wasn't enough time or the right circumstance. But to those pilots up there, that was just normal. Oh yeah, you land while you're doing a circle. And I went, in Las Vegas, you would have been calling NASA and everybody else, to come to be there for the wreck. An emergency, you know what I'm saying? This guy comes in and he starts coiling down, and then, the trees are below us and they're starting to rise up. He landed in a circle. Can you imagine that? I guess some people call it a crab landing, like when the wind's hitting you really hard. And the plane isn't exactly like this. You got to be careful but anyway, so we land on a circle. And the one thing that went through my mind is, this guy's good. He is good. I felt so safe. You know what I'm saying? Doing that flight, because you hear, oh yeah, it's a touchy landing there to be in that spot if you want to get the goodies. And I'm going, as the situation started to happen, I started going, after he did that landing and came up, well, the going up was just as fun. Because you're taking off, and this airplane has to have enough power in that short distance on that straight right away. You know that the landing strip was not a circle, right? It was a straightaway. So you're doing a circle. And right, Joel, I'm telling you, right when you got to here's the straight part, you go in a circle and you go, boop. And everything is lined up. And to take off, you take off on a straightaway and you come up. Got it? And as you come up, you got to start turning that sucker. Or you're going to eat a tree. You're going to become a lumberjack. And then I went like that, and I see all those trees in front of us, and I see everything's going. And I said, praise the Lord, praise the Lord. That's some beautiful stuff. He died of running out of gas. I said, how could this happen to him? You know, how could this be? Guess what? He made a mistake. He ran out of gas. You have a flight plan. You know what your flight plan is? That's what you go by. It doesn't say your maybe plan. It's your flight plan. Going from this place to this place to this place. But you have places that you're going to. You have these little beacons that are going off. That's in between this distance and that distance. They're going off, and guess what? If they start going off and you see them and your plane is not on track to hit it, if you're off, guess what happens? You correct it. Because you're going from beacon to beacon. And there's other stuff that I don't want to bore you. He went off the plan, the flight plan that you hand in. He was familiar with the area, had the best airplane money could buy. These are special planes to be able to do that crazy stuff. You can't do that with just a regular airplane. Man, you talk about a hot rod. He looked at me and he said, you see that by the time we get to that mark over there? And I said, yeah. He goes, we'll be off the ground. And I went, not touching the earth. He said, off the ground. This thing is, he worked, the guy that owned the planes was a really rich guy and everything. Sure enough, he goes, watch. And I'm like a little kid on a roller coaster. Do it, man, do it. This is a straight line. If you don't achieve your goal, then you just go farther and then you come up. He comes up before the mark. And I'm going, man, that was exciting. I could feel everything. And he started laughing. He goes, yeah, man, that's the exact same way I felt the first time I flew this plane. What's the moral of the story? He thought he knew the flight plan. He was so familiar with it that he forgot some details. You know what some details are? All of a sudden the wind started changing in the direction and the wind started getting harder. That means that if you have to face in certain directions, it's going to take more gas to get there. But before all of that happened, he got off the plan. Because he wanted to see some other stuff, and he thought he was fine in hunky-dory, but he didn't stick to that flight plan. Guess what happened? He got back on course, that wind came up. That situation happened. And it happened in such a way that the airplane ended up having to use more gas because it was fighting the elements and so forth. It broke my heart. He died. He could have flew me. I mean, literally, if we would have blindfolded him, could have landed us. Guess why? He knew how to fly by instruments. You know, that means that you don't use your eyeballs. You don't use any of that stuff. Got it? You're just looking at your instruments and you're depending on the instruments. You talk about faith. You're looking at this little gauge and you're going, okay. But you're not looking outside. Because you say it doesn't do any good. Because you can't see anything anyway. So you have to buy by the gauges. And if you obey your natural, you might have had 300 hours flying. Some people become so familiar that they get into some fog and I don't need those instruments. I forgot. How does this exactly work? How do I do that? It depends on the circumstances. And guess what? He could have blindfolded. He could have done it, anything, literally. Because you know what they do when you're testing for that? They cover either you or they cover the windshields and everything. And guess what? You got to fly blind. You can't see through that windshield. You have to trust the what? Have faith in the instruments. You know what the first thing I did before that plane ever took off the ground? I said, if that instrument is telling me that I'm 10 feet off the ground and it's wrong, well, that's going to be a real hard landing. They call them a crash landing. But as long as you have that instrument there, no matter what's going on, at least you know how far you are from the ground. When you get in your car, before you drive away, look at the ground and see if you can tell us exactly how far the door, top of your door is, right here, to the ground. So there's no mistake. So guess what? Little Jose, I mean, I was a freak when it came to the maintenance, when it came to the... I'm also a freak on this.